All right, so this is going to be a review of Beetlejuice, directed by Tim Burton. It's the sequel to that original Beetlejuice movie. I like that original Beetlejuice movie. I rewatched it the other day. Um, I have a lot of fun with it. I like Beetlejuice as a character. I like Michael Keaton a lot in this role. I think it's largely just a really fun movie. It's feeling forced. It's feeling like yet another forced sequel all these years later. And the trailers didn't look all that great, but I was like, all right, I'll give it a chance. So I saw it yesterday. It was pretty full in there, not packed, but pretty full. I'm sure this is probably going to be at least somewhat successful. I'll say how I feel about it in a second. So Lydia Dietz, played by Winona Ryder again, she's pretty much sold out. If you remember, she could see that ghost couple in the that original movie. She can see ghosts, so she pretty much sold out, and she has like a TV show where she's like a psychic medium type thing, where she goes into haunted houses and things like that. She has people like guests come on her show, things like that, and it seems like she's made a lot of money for herself doing that. She has an estranged relationship with her daughter in this, Astrid Dietz, played by Jenna Ortega, and this whole thing about her also. Astrid's father dying, and him splitting up from Lydia and things like that. They've definitely got a complicated relationship going on. So that's going on. The mother from the original movie, I believe the stepmother, Delia Dietz, played by Catherine O'Hara, she's dealing with some stuff too because the father from that original movie died, and so she wants to really give him a good funeral and things like that. They go back to that original town, that original house from the original movie. Jenna Ortega's character Astrid, she meets this boy, and so there's that going on, and there's a lot of things going on here. Lydia has a new boyfriend in here, Rory, played by Justin Theroux. He wants to get married, but he wants to get married right away, like within days. So that's going on. And then in the afterlife side of things, you have Beetlejuice once again played by Michael Keaton. He's still wanting to marry Lydia, still thinking about her. And also, he has this ex-wife, Dolores, played by Monica Bellucci, who can suck the souls out of people, including dead people, I guess. And so she's been put back together, and she's going after him. She wants to either remarry him or suck the soul out of him. I wasn't clear there, but she's going after him. There's a lot going on in this movie. I've been looking around, and from what I've seen, most of the reviews have been positive, some very positive. I think I only came across like one negative one, just like looking through. I didn't watch the review, but just being on YouTube, I just see thumbnails and titles. I'm like, okay, so it seems like people are for the most part liking this. It's green on Metacritic. I didn't see the actual number, but it's green. And so I'm like, all right, well, I guess I'm gonna have an unpopular take this time around because I did not like this movie. I thought it was a mess and not in a good way. Towards the end, it kind of won me over, but by then it's a little too late because I was really bored throughout this movie. We'll get back to all that. Um, Positives, I like the look of the movie. Production design, costume design, it's all great. Effects, all great. It's right up there, right in line with that original movie. Right, it's clear that they put a lot of time and effort into making this movie when it comes to the look of it and things like that, making it feel like that original. I think the performances are okay for the most part. I think when it comes to like our main characters here, I thought Jenna Ortega was good. Catherine O'Hara was good. Easily the standout here is Michael Keaton as Beetlejuice. Man, I was so bored throughout this movie, and it seems like every time, other than some things that happened with him early on, which we'll talk about, it felt like whenever it would come to him, it was like, oh wow, okay, this is the weirdness that I like. This is the energy that I like. I mean, I just rewatched that first movie, and it's almost like this movie was made right after that first one. I mean, because when it comes to his performance, because he's right back there with the character. It's like he was born to play this character. He's funny. He's weird. I like all the different imaginative things that they can come up with that he can do. I like that. It's like once he actually gets actively involved in what's going on in the movie and with the deeds and all that, it's like the movie gets elevated immediately. It's like, oh wow, okay, so I like this now. Like there's mainly what I liked was the climax all the way to the ending, pretty much, where it's crazy and all over the place, but in a fun way. And there's a wedding at the end, and I thought that was easily the best part of the movie. Right? It's just I had a lot of fun with it, and a lot of fun with just Beetlejuice just in general for the most part in this movie. If only the rest of the movie could be that strong. If I could say the problem with this is, like I've already been saying throughout the video, it's messy. There's so much going on, and that stuff isn't all that interesting. For so much of the movie, it's really just Deet's drama, right, between Astrid and Lydia, or Lydia has this very obvious, like, sleazy boyfriend that's not really into her, that's just trying to pressure her into the wedding or whatever. So we have the wedding coming up that she clearly doesn't seem like she wants to actually go through with. Things like that. You got the thing with Delia Deetz, and she constantly keeps bringing up the father from the original movie, but you never actually see him in a really weird way. I think I understand why, but but it's still weird. It's like, why don't you just say, oh, he died in between movies, and like just start the movie with his funeral, right? And they're or with them going back for the funeral. Like, there's so much extra stuff in here that doesn't need to be here that really could have just been cut out. This movie isn't that long, but it feels so long because of that. You have the Dietz family stuff where they're getting into little things with each other and preparing stuff for the father's funeral, and all that other stuff. The father from the original. You have that. Then you have Beetlejuice. He's sitting in his office thinking about Lydia, and then giving exposition about Dolores, the soul sucking ex wife. And then you have Dolores going up to dead people, sucking their souls out of them, and then leaving them on the floor, and then moving on, continuing to look for Beetlejuice. That is so much of the movie, right? I was like, man, good. Like, it was so boring, and the interactions they have weren't really all that funny or anything like that. It's just like I'm constantly waiting. It's like, okay, is the ex-wife gonna go after Lydia because Beetlejuice is so into her or something like that, and that's how the family gets involved in what seemed like the main plot of the movie, which is the whole thing with Dolores, but it gets sidestepped so much for everything else. They have so many plots going on that there are the ones that are not all that interesting that shouldn't be in here, but the ones that are interesting, like the thing with the boy, which should have been the main plot in this movie, doesn't get enough development. It really didn't work. Like, I was constantly like waiting. I was like, please do something interesting. And then they have the storyline with the boy, and I was like, oh, okay, I'm kind of into this. Oh wait, we're cutting to something else. Oh, all right, we're cutting to whatever thing with the snakes and all that. That Delia Dietz goes through her little misadventures, right? We got all this other stuff. We got a detective, Wolf Jackson, played by Willem Dafoe, and he's good, but it's like, why is that here, right? I guess the afterlife has a police force now, and it's headed up by somebody who was not an actual detective in his life, but he was an actor. So he keeps rehearsing his lines and stuff like that. It's like, who does he answer to? Is he is he actually in charge of anything? Does he actually have any actual power? But that felt like it was only there for the Dolores plot. So because the Dolores plot doesn't matter all that much, it's like, okay, well, this doesn't feel like it needs to be here either. It's just like, man, I was like, man, you could have made this movie just about everything that was happening when Astrid meets the boy. They come back from the funeral, Astrid meets the boy, and then that's the actual plot. And then Lydia has to ask Beetlejuice for help based on everything that happened in that plot. Like, it feels like you could easily have done that and had a bunch of weirdness and things like that, right? Get Beetlejuice the fuck out of that office, just hanging out with the dudes with the small heads that work for him or whatever. There's too much of that, right? It feels like it's just so all over the place. I wish I liked this as much as everybody else seems to. I was in the theater, not really enjoying it, and there were points that would happen that was like chuckle worthy, and everybody else in the theater just laughing. I'm looking at them like, what's going on? Like, I'm in some kind of alternate universe or something. I don't get it. I don't understand. I guess they just really wanted to laugh. The all these plots going on, especially the one with Dolores, the ex-wife. It's like, why is that even in here if you're not going to do enough with it, and it's not all that interesting as a result, not all that fun either. It's just, wow, this movie's all over the place. What was it, like an hour and 44? It feels like it's well over 2 hours long. It feels so long, or at least it did for me. That last like 20 minutes or so was legitimately fun, is what I would want from a Beetlejuice sequel. But it's such a slog to get there that I just can't give this anything higher than a rental. I mean, it's a rental. It's watchable, but to me, it just wasn't all that great. It feels like we just kind of forced this. and we didn't really know what to do overall. So it's like, okay, anything anybody can think about, we'll just throw it in there and we'll make it work. It's all right if it's a bit messy because it's Beetlejuice, but it's way too messy, way too much. So anyway, that is Beetlejuice Beetlejuice. I'm giving it a rental. Didn't care for it that much. Subscribe, and we're done.